I appreciate every one of us for taking our precious time, for that matter, to come and learn, unlearn, and relearn many things. So, much of our time have been taken already, and I would like to go straight to the point. Please, I want everybody to type the spirit of leadership. I want our spirit to be very alive and very active tonight. Please, I'm waiting for our messages. The spirit of leadership. Okay, that's right. Okay. All right. Okay, I would like to say this. This is not a convergence whereby to waste our time, or I just come up with something like what did I need to do to bring people together? No. Please let us understand that this is better from a burden of seeing leaders leading in a way that is not really according to the right standard by which they ought to lead. And everything rise and fall with leadership. Everything we see in the society today happens because of leadership, and everything that is not happening is as a result of leadership also. So I'll be starting very quickly before we dive into the spirit of leadership. Our speaker for tomorrow and next tomorrow will be focusing more on this aspect, but I'll be talking to us on the foundational parts today. So I might not be sharing my screen, or I might close the video now because of the lights here. So please, I hope we are all with our pen. Please, if you are not with your pen and your notes, please, I always love writing. I always love people writing. Please make sure you are writing and you take note of every point. And also, I would like to say this: after you are done writing, do this immediately. If possible, please refresh and go back to everything you have learned again tonight. So very quickly, what we'll be sharing today is a very foundational topic. It's dawned on me more last year because I've always known of leadership before I now get to realize this foundational part of leadership. And what's that? Self-leadership. So we'll be discussing understanding self-leadership today. Understanding self-leadership is the foundation by which the spirit of leadership rests on. Understanding self-leadership. Please, I want to see somebody type understanding self-leadership. Understanding self-leadership. All right. Our time is fast spent. I just hope I'm able to cover many things. We want to understand self-leadership. From the word self-leadership, when this thing dawned on me last year, I haven't really come across it from a book, or it was later on I saw other speakers speaking about self-leadership. Then at first I was thinking, is this anything called self-leadership? I've always known of positional leadership and other forms of leadership. Is there anything called self-leadership? Then when I hear other speakers speaking about it, I gain other insight about it. Then I really know that this is something to really pay attention to. So what is self-leadership? What is self-leadership? I would like to tell us this: when you are learning, it's very good to break things down so that to be able to really understand that thing very well. So I'll be breaking things down for us now. We understand the definition of self and understand the definition of leadership. And if possible, if you can type it as I'm defining it, it will be very good. So what is self? Simply put, self is who you are. Self is who you are. And who you are entails of your thought, your values, your belief systems, your emotions, your identity. But I get to realize that your true self, aside your thoughts, your values, your true self is your spirit. Your true self is your spirit. Then we get to understand more of this as our speaker speak to us and focus on this area. But I would love to just focus on self-leadership today for us to have a very good background of leadership. So self, I'll come again, is who you are. Your thought, your value, your beliefs, your belief system, your emotions, your identity. And you should know that your true self is your spirit. Your true self is your spirit. So what is leadership? Leadership is, simply put, is the heart of leading, right? From the word, we can define it is the heart of leading. But to take it more further, we can also define leadership as the art of being in charge. Is the heart of being in charge. And also the other elaborate definition of leadership is the ability to influence, guide, and inspire yourself. Please take note of all those words. Inspire yourself and others towards a goal and a better direction. Take note of all those words. Is the ability to influence, guide, and inspire yourself and others towards a goal or a better direction. Now, as I was preparing for this teaching, I get to realize that many of us have a goal this year. But let me tell you something, you will not be able to achieve all those things without self-leadership. Yes, you have a beautiful goal. Now, it's not just about leading others towards a goal. Now, you are to lead yourself towards achieving your goal. And that's what we'll be considering tonight. Now, you have understand self. Thank you for typing, sir. You have understand the definition of self, who you are, simply put, who you are, and understand the definition of leadership. Now, bringing the two together. If self is who you are and leadership is the ability to influence, guide, and inspire yourself or others towards a goal, meaning, or simply put, leadership means leading, the art of leading, or the art of being in charge. You can simply put self-leadership as the art of being in charge of who you are, the art of being in charge of your thought, the art of being in charge of your value, the art of being in charge of your belief systems, the art of being in charge of your emotions, and the art of being in charge of your identity, the art of being in charge of everything. No area of your life is missing. The art of being in charge of your life, the art of being in charge of who you are. Simply put, self-leadership is the art of being in charge of who you are. And to bring it more further, self-leadership is the ability to understand who you are and intentionally guide your own thoughts, action, and behavior towards a meaningful goal or a better version of yourself. It's the ability to understand who you are and intentionally guide your own thought, action, and behavior towards a meaningful goal or better version of yourself. Lest I forget, please note this. You can't, like Mr. Richard rightly said, he said you can't truly lead others if you have not learned how to lead yourself. That's why we see some people seeing leadership as something that is very hard. If you check very well, they have not been able to lead themselves aright. They have not been able to lead themselves to the right level of excellence. Though they might have been able to lead themselves to an extent, but they have not truly take charge of their own lives. Thus, their external leadership will not be able to be very fruitful like that. So for you to master any other form of leadership, you must master this self-leadership. You must master self-leadership. You must know how to lead your thoughts, not being influenced by opinions of others, but you must own your decision. You must know how to guide yourself aright without anybody telling. And that's what the spirit of leadership deals with. Is what is driving you. Is what is driving your actions and your inactions. So please take note of this. You can't effectively lead others if you have not learned how to lead yourself. You can't effectively lead others if you have not truly learned how to lead yourself. Then I would like to tell you, if you are given any position, if you have any privilege at all to be in a leadership position, the first thing that should come to your mind is not just how to perform your responsibility, but the first thing that should come to your mind is what? Training. Understanding self-leadership, then training yourself in leadership. I see these mistakes in leadership, in any form of leadership. I just see some people, maybe they just assume a position and they believe that maybe because of their observation of observing other leaders and all that, they believe that they can lead. No, you have to go through a training before leading. We make you to lead effectively. Training before leading will make you to lead effectively. And the first form of training you should engage in is training yourself, training your self-leadership, then training to build how to really perform well in your responsibility. So anywhere you are opportune to have a say on maybe on any leadership platform, you should help them to always understand that before leading, you have to go through training. And the first training is learn how to train yourself, your leadership. So having understand the meaning of self, having understand the meaning of leadership, and having been able to bring the two together, we'll be diving further. Like I've said earlier, self-leadership is the foundation of all leadership. And I would like you to take note of this. Before any other position come, is yourself. Yeah, I'm trying to emphasize because I really want us to really understand. Before any other form of position come, the first position you are occupying as a leader is yourself. You're occupying who you are. So, and I would like us to understand that every other position of leadership or any other forms of leadership can change. But let me shock you. There's this form of leadership that you can never graduate from or you can never leave. Is yourself. You can never stop being yourself. So that's why you ought to really master how to lead yourself as a leader. And I would like to also tell you that everybody is a leader. If we have always heard of this thing that everybody is a leader, but we don't really know if they say that everybody, what does it really mean? If you check, everybody is not occupying a position now. So what did they mean that everybody is a leader. Actually, most of the time, it means everybody, even if you are a follower now, there is high probability that you'll be a leader tomorrow. But I'll give us another understanding of it. Everybody is a leader because you are a leader of yourself. So the first leadership position you are occupying is yourself. Is yourself. Please take note of that. You are the leader of yourself. Thank you, sir. Self-leadership is the foundation of all leadership. Please don't never forget that it's the foundation of all leadership. Before trying to lead others, you must learn how to lead yourself. This position of leadership that you are occupying is not temporary, it's forever. It's forever, and it cannot change regardless of season. That means if it doesn't change, you must learn and master how to lead yourself effectively. Even if you are not occupying any position, you are occupying the position of your life. You own your life, you own your leadership, you own everything about yourself. So this one you cannot hand over to anybody. You are the owner of your life. So please take note of that. If at all you cannot change it, that means you must learn how to master it and be effective in it. So anytime you are asked, are you a leader? You can boldly say that yes, I'm a leader. And did not see you occupying any position. So if they ask you that, how are you a leader? Then you will explain that you are a leader of yourself. Because you lead your own thoughts, your emotions, and every other aspect. If you will master this effectively, you'll be able to lead other aspects of your life. Then I would like to emphasize also that every other great leader we celebrate, every other global leader we celebrate, before they become effective globally or in their business in any other area, they have become very effective in leading themselves. We understand how to lead ourselves more as we dive in today's section. So I would like to continue this way. That self-leadership is the inner working on yourself that make your outer leadership possible. Without self-leadership, you can't effectively lead people. So before you lead anything, before you lead an organization, before you lead a generation, you must demonstrate practically how to lead yourself. You must demonstrate practically how to, and I'll be giving us many practical, because I love practicals a lot. I'm always a person that is forward on practicality. So I'll be giving us many practical examples of those that have led themselves effectively today. So we'll be moving now to the core pillar of self-leadership. We'll be moving now to the core pillar of, I want you to picture the pillar of a building. Without the pillar, the building, even though the foundation is right, the building can fall at any time, or the building might not be sustainable. So the core pillars, that means without those things, there's no self-leadership. Without those things, you cannot really sustain and say you are effectively leading yourself. So I abbreviated it, but I'll just list them for us. These are the core pillars of self-leadership. So the first one is self-awareness. The first one is self-awareness. The second one is self-discipline. Self-discipline. And the third one is self-motivation. And the other one is self-accountability, which is the fourth one. Self-accountability. And the fifth one is self-renewal. And the sixth one is self-system and structure. I love this part. I think I made a post about this area, but I'll give us more understanding on it. Self-system and structure. And the last part is self-reflection and time audit. It's not possible for you to understand all this thing and your self-leadership remain the same, and your leadership remain the same. So I see some of us from the registration, those that register, they make a lot of complaint and they show their challenges. So please pay attention to all this explanation and this understanding for you to really find answer to your questions. Though our speakers will be making more justice on this as time goes on. Thank you so much, man. Self-awareness, self-discipline, self-motivation, self-accountability, self-renewal, self-system and structure, and self-reflection and time audit. So what is self-awareness? Self-awareness simply means understanding and being conscious of yourself. Understanding and being conscious of yourself. So please note this: you can't lead what you don't understand. You can't lead yourself if you can't understand yourself, and also you can't lead others if you can't understand them. So this self-awareness begins with being very honest with yourself, examining yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, knowing your tendencies. And I bet you, if you already understand all these things, there will be a lot of mistakes that will be avoided as in leadership. So a leader who does not know themselves will constantly be surprised by their own action. Please note that point. So people say, so I can act like this. You see some people, if they are given an opportunity to lead, maybe as a floor member or as a follower, you see that they are doing very well. But immediately they enter leadership, you just see everything change. If you check them well, some of them did not even believe that they can act that way. This instance in the Bible, there was this king. Before he became a king, he was prophesied to that you become a king, and these are the wrongful thing that you will write in your section, in your tenure. He couldn't believe it. He said, me. he thought that he can never do that kind of wickedness. But guess what? He did worse, and exactly as the prophet said. So if you check very well, he thought that I can do this thing now, and this thing reflecting. Please don't let us assume anything that I can do this now, I cannot do this thing. Reflect. Always examine yourself, and always reflect on what the do's and don'ts that surrounds your life. Understand your weaknesses as a leader. Understand these will guide your boundaries. That I cannot go beyond this. I cannot have this kind of friend. I cannot have this kind of conversation. Understand your triggers. So I'll be giving us a very practical example of this self-awareness. So a bank branch manager, he realizes that every Monday morning he yells and snaps at his staff over minor errors. Anytime they commit error, he just yells at them. So he did not like what he's doing, but he couldn't believe that. So why am I always doing like this? He starts questioning himself, and that's one thing we have to be doing. If anything you want to change, you must question it. Why is this thing going this way? Why is this thing not going this way? So then he engaged in self-reflection. As he reflected on himself, he traced it to the weekend stress he carries into work unprocessed. So all the stress that he has gone through in the weekend, he now bring it to the workplace. This is the cause of his reaction. So after he reflected on himself, then he realizes, so all this stress, this is the result that he's causing. Then he began to take. Now this is the action that he took to. Let us understand this thing. You can't change anything if you continue doing that same thing. You can't change anything. You shouldn't expect different results if you continue doing the same thing. So he changed. He knew what to do. Then he did it. Then he began taking 10 minutes alone before the Monday morning, briefing and examining and checking himself. Then after this thing, he began to change his behavior, and his team, they began to notice the shift. And this happened not because he announced it, but because of the atmosphere change and his reaction change. But please note what he did differently. He reflected on the thing that is causing it, and he was able to take the necessary action on how to change the whole thing. Notice he began taking 10 minutes alone before Monday morning and briefing and checking some of his excesses. Now another practical example, a senior staff member, he subtly discourages a talented junior colleague from applying for a promotion. Then he tells himself he's protecting her from disappointment. Imagine. So, but in a quiet moment of honesty, he's afraid that she will outgrow him or he will become irrelevant. Look at life. So this senior staff was trying to advise the other staff, junior staff, that don't apply for this opportunity, don't apply for this, because he was afraid. So please let us take note of this. If anybody is giving you counsel, always check the motive. Why are they giving me this counsel? Don't just trust anybody blindly. Please always check the motive of why are they giving me this counsel, and always process it that is this counsel really. Always check the end, even from the beginning, and always consider and reflect that where is this thing leading to. If I study, go for my master's now, where will I be in the next this? If I apply for this skill, if I do this, if I do that, please always check and check again and again. So it's because he was afraid that he might become irrelevant or this person might have grown in. That's why he's doing this kind of thing. So the solution to this person is that if he have realized himself and these are my weaknesses, and he was able to take the necessary action, this won't have happened. You won't be afraid that in the next 5 years I won't be irrelevant. As far as you keep developing yourself, you will never go out of relevance. So another practical example, a class prefect dominates every group discussion. So he genuinely believes that he's contributing, but a trusted friend tells him, you don't let others finish. So sometimes you might not even know that what you are doing is bad as a leader, or you are just expressing yourself, but indirectly you are silencing other people's opinion. So until his friend tells him, and this honest conversation, he receives it with humility. So one of the ways to become self-aware is by reflecting on everything that you are being told, every feedback that you hear from your friends, because sometimes people might see that. Because I was reflecting on something today, that sometimes maybe you have a boss and you know that what this boss is doing is not good, but you don't know how to present it to him. Then I remember the wisdom of Esther. Though Esther did not know how to present it, but there's always a way out. If you sit down, is it that when you are done praying, just receive that wisdom. This is how to present it. Maybe I have to just set the atmosphere, make everybody to be in a very light mode. Then I can share this. So we should also learn this as a leader. So as I was sharing the story, so this person received this feedback. He received it with humility, and this transformed how he leads the meeting and how he lead every other part. So after that, he starts asking questions instead of giving answers. So this is the thing that he did differently. So as a leader, we must allow every other person to share their opinion too. And we cannot know this. You might think that, yes, I'm bringing brilliant ideas, but you might not know that you are hurting other people, and you are killing their potential if you do not really reflect on yourself and you do not welcome constructive feedback. So, okay, I hope you have gotten that point. So please, self-awareness, and this comes and happens when we truly reflect on ourselves after all the stress. Please let us have time to reflect on the things that we have gone through and we have done. So the other point here is that self-discipline is the other pillar is self-discipline. So leadership is constantly under pressure. So as a leader, you will constantly be under pressure. How will we go about this? How will we go about this? How will we go about? But self-discipline is the muscle that keep you showing up to your values, your commitments, and your vision, even when no one is watching, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's not easy. Sincerely, self-discipline is a whole lot. Is a whole lot. So let me give us this practical example. There's two pastors. They are given the same preaching slot 6 weeks in advance. So one starts preparing 2 nights before, and the other begin the same day he received the invitation. Please follow. The first person was preparing the 2 nights before the meeting, but the other person begins that same day he received the invitation. He began reading, he began to pray, began to outline and refine some of his teaching. So one day he delivers the message excellently when the time comes for him to present in the meeting. But the other person was surprised that I thought I prepare now, but preparation is different from preparation. Preparation is different from preparation. So the congregation can always tell the difference between a leader who prepare and one who perform. So people just see you as a performer. If they might be nodding as if they are listening, but sincerely you are saying rubbish and you don't really get what they are saying. But this will have, all these things will have been overcome if the leader have been able to discipline himself, be disciplined with time and be disciplined with preparation. Let me give us another practical example. There's this student, a final year student. He decided that between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. every night, her phone goes face down and she read or write. Look at that aspect of discipline. So her friend always make jest of her. You look at you. What's the meaning of what you are doing? But 6 months later, she graduated with a distinction. So if you see anybody succeeding, nothing just happened by luck. Everybody have a very practical way of achieving success, and most of this thing happen by self-discipline. It happened by self-discipline. So I'll be giving more practical example. Now there's this local government official. He was offered an offer to handle a project. So, and he has collected a commission that nobody knows about. But he declined this offer because the way they brought it is not a legitimate way. It's because he has been able to control himself, that no, money will not control me, I'm the one that will control money. So we see all those things. You cannot do leadership without understanding yourself, without having a self-discipline. We see many of our leaders making a whole lot of decisions that is affecting the state now. Any politician that you see maybe comes to position and is into money laundering and all that, and fraudster and all that, is because he has not been able to be disciplined with money. That's why every other person suffer the consequence of the money he has embezzled. So we're moving on to the third pillar, self-motivation, and this is very key. Please take note of this point. External motivation is borrowed energy. I love this point. External motivation is borrowed energy. External motivation is borrowed energy. Yes, I can motivate you now, but that motivation can fade away. So self-leadership carry a self-leader, they carry their why internally. They don't wait for applause to begin or continue. So when you understand self-motivation, you won't wait for somebody to tell you that this is what you ought to be doing for you to begin or to continue. So external motivation is a borrowed energy, and a self-leader, they don't wait for motivation to continue or to begin or to continue. So this is the difference between someone who leads when things are going well and someone who leads when things are difficult. So some people, and we see a very practical example of this in many leaders. So I'll be giving us a very good practical example of this self-motivation. So a youth football coach in a rural community trains his team every Saturday morning. Nobody was sponsoring him. Nobody gave him trophy. There's no crowd. It's just him. But he continues in this thing that he's doing. So 3 years later, 2 of those guys he has trained, they earn international scholarship. And because of that, he was able to be rewarded for that thing act he was doing. Like, I'll give a very practical example of what these outreaches I'm going to. Nobody was paying me that I should come and speak to the students, but it's just a passion. Nobody sat me down and started telling me that you have to do this, you have to do that. But it's a passion that keep motivating me. That no, many people are depending on my thing I'll be offering. I was telling the student I reached out to on Tuesday. I was telling them that better pay attention, because anytime you have opportunity to learn a thing, one thing that you will pay, as you are not paying money, you must pay attention, you must pay with time, and you must also pay with practice. Practice that thing that you are being taught. That this thing that I'm teaching, that many people are being paid to come and hear this thing that I'm telling. So you should pay very good attention. So I'm not doing it because they are paying me or because I'm being sponsored. And if I see a sponsor, I'll gladly accept that. But the whole motivation is that I'm able to do this because I'm able to motivate myself, and that's leadership. That's self-leadership. That's a very good practical example of self-leadership. So I'll give us another practical example of self-motivation. So a teacher is being posted to a rural school with no resources, no support from administration, and students who have been told by life that they don't matter. So these are the things that surround the teacher. So she could do the minimum, and no one would find fault in her. So she just decided, since there's no big thing happening in this school, let me just put my hand and just watch things happen. So instead, she creates her own teaching aid. She stayed after school for students that are struggling. Just the same thing that I've explained practically about my life. She writes grants for library books. So she wrote grants, and this is one of the initiatives of this vision. I believe that many people will have been better off this way if they have been open to many opportunities. That we created a channel where we share opportunities, because I'm just bothered and concerned about helping people to become better of themselves, and all this thing is as a result of self-motivation. So our time is fast spent. I'll move very quickly to the next point now. No, the fourth pillar you should take note of is self-accountability. Self-accountability. Please take note of this. A self-leader take ownership of the choices, the growth, and their failures. So self-accountability doesn't throw blame that it's because I don't have a good, for instance, just an instant, I don't have a good government teacher while I was in school. That's why I did not pass JAMB. That's why I did not perform well. Self-accountability will make you to take ownership of your growth, of your choices, of your failure. So you are not shifting blame to anybody. Any area of our life, our finances, our health, we have to take ownership of it. We have to take responsibility of it. Don't wait till they organize a teaching on health, how to improve your health, before you take ownership, before you do research on yourself, for yourself, that what did I know have to know about my health? What did I have to know about this area of my life, about my finances, and all that? Maybe we should take a very good note of that. Self-accountability. So here you are not shifting blame in this regard. So this is the character and the quality that make others trust you with responsibility. The moment people can see that this person is very accountable, they can trust you with responsibility. And now self-accountability is, in this regard, is not vague. It's management and maximization of your own self, of your own time especially. There's an instance, I think I made a post about it. It just dawned on me that imagine if I'm able to have opportunity to use yesterday again, if I have opportunity to use last week again, if I have opportunity to use last month again, what will I have done better? So this is the question of self-accountability. This is the question that somebody that wants to be accountable on and be responsible asks themselves. Please, let us take this action. Let us ask ourselves question often. Let me give us a very practical example of this. So a church leader, a church elder publicly criticizes a young minister's decision in front of the congregation. Imagine. So later discovering he acted on incomplete information. So he had two choices. This elder is either he stay quiet or let it pass, or stand before that same congregation and say that it was wrong and he hold the person he was criticizing an apology. But he chose the second. So that single act of accountability gave him more authority than 10 years of correct decisions. So this elder was able to find out what is doing wrong, that even though it might, some of us, you might see some leader, they are doing some things and we criticizing them without you knowing what is really inspiring that action. You don't really hear the full story, but you are criticizing. So you have to be accountable with yourself, that am I truly saying the right thing? And you have to take correction of having a full grasp of any information before concluding on it. So there's this illustration again. A community leader keeps a private journal where every month he asks himself 3 questions. Where did I fall, like I've said earlier, where did I fall short of my own standard this month? This personal leadership. Who did I let down and I have addressed? And did I really address it? Sincerely, let me tell us the truth. If we keep doing this and keep reflecting on those things and we are keep being accountable, you will not be offending many people. And as a leader, you will not be too proud to admit your mistake and to also correct it. Can we go and meet the person you go wrong? So if you ask yourself these questions, there will be a lot of things that will, please let us cultivate this. And I myself, all these things relate to me. Don't be surprised. All these things I have to really master it and work it out on myself for me to really self-renewal. What does self-renewal mean? Self-renewal mean you are bringing out new things, right? Mean you are refreshing yourself. And self-renewal mean you are investing in what make you to have better edge, what make you to grow more, what make you to be able to lead effectively. You are investing in yourself. You are investing in yourself. Thank you. So I'll be continuing as I make mention of the 5th pillar is self-renewal. That a leader who does not invest in their own growth becomes stagnant. So don't be surprised maybe in 10 years to come, if you become irrelevant, if you check well, it's because you stop investing in yourself. This woman, Mrs. Ibukwan Woshika, she said she continued to go for all this PhD and take many courses with all the level of the education she has attained. She's still learning more, going to schools more. Why? Because she understands that what you study will only be relevant to the level at which the knowledge stop. So because every day new things are evolving. So that's why we have to keep learning. It's something dawned on me lately last year. I guess we realized that this generation, that I'll be thinking this is our generation in 50 years to come, what you are doing will still be relevant. And even the coming generation, though they can have their own way, but what will make us to be very relevant is by keep building ourselves and keep learning and be open to new ideas. If you are an undergraduate hearing me, please, immediately you are done with your undergraduate study, don't think that's hollow. There's still so much to learn. I'll still be surprised if I find myself reading books. I'm like, am I still in school? But it's very necessary. There's one quote I caught, that if you love leading, you must love reading. If you love leading, you must love reading. So you cannot separate leadership from learning. There's one understanding that the Holy Spirit inspired in my heart. He was using, because Jesus said, the first in the last days, the first shall become the last, and the last shall become the first. But this is the illustration that the Holy Spirit gave me. He said, the first will only become the last if the first stop doing what make them to be the first. The first will only become the last if the first stop doing what make them to be the first. So if what make you to be the first is continuous learning, That means you keep doing it if you still want to remain at the top. If what makes you to become the first is the kind of association you surround yourself with, keep doing it. I can remember during my undergraduate years, one of the semester that my GP got skyrocket. I think maybe it's only 2 Bs I have that time. The rest are A's. I was working with this medical student. Kai, those guys are reading. So it's really challenged me. It's really make me to act in a way that make me to read in a way that I wouldn't have read because of the kind of, so that's the kind of association I work with. So we should take note of this. We should always look forward to people that challenge our self-leadership, that make us to even do that thing that we will have done with their help. But without their help now, because of the experience and the exposure we have had, we'll be able to do that thing more even effectively, because you have found the understanding that if I stop learning, I'll become stagnant, and if I become stagnant, I'll become irrelevant. Let me give us a very practical example of this, of self-renewal, self-investment, self-development. So this is a very good practical example. A veteran teacher with 20 years of experience voluntarily attend 2-day workshop on modern teaching method, sitting among colleagues half her age. I think this used to happen. I used to see many people coming for their PhD. If you see their age while I was in school, I would be like, what are these people looking for? But this is the same thing that this teacher was doing with 20 years of experience. But now he was learning with those people that are not even half her age. So he was sitting among them. Then some thought it was this is not at your level now. That it was she's not supposed to be here, but she understands what she's doing. But she thought that this is the necessary thing for me to do, because if she stop learning, she will not become relevant as she ought to be again. And I think, yes, I asked before I continue with this example, I asked one of my very good teacher on leadership a question one time. I said, I noticed some complaints. If you notice all this which complaint now? I want to remember this cowbell, all this tree crown. Some of them will be celebrating 100 years, and you see a business that is not even up to 20 years. It has they are still existing, but they have become irrelevant. That people do not really know the products as they ought to be knowing it. If you check very well, there is a gap in self-leadership. There is a gap in self-renewal, especially from the person managing the affair, because there will be a time that you hand over to somebody, and this anytime you are handing over to anybody in a position of leadership, it's this in their ears that you ought to keep developing yourself. It's not optional. By reading, by watching videos, and sometimes it doesn't used to be very easy and doesn't used to look juicy. It doesn't used to be very convenient. But if you have this understanding, to make you to keep learning, even without anybody saying that go and read this, read that, without supervision, you'll be able to do this thing practically. So continue with the story. This person keep developing herself. She went to this set where they are learning. People half her age. Imagine a 60-year-old elder come to your lecture hall. You'll be wondering, you have seen a very good example like that. But what's this daddy looking for in this place? But they understand what they are doing. So at the end, this workshop gives her 2 new strategies that transform her classroom within a term. So, and our student noticed this thing. Our teacher have not been leading like this before, but because she was able to do that, because she upskilled. I think for business people also, there is something called upskilling. You have to upskill and learn new skills. I guess we realize that yes, we can talk about excellence, do this, do that, build mastery in this aspect. But I guess we realized lately that excellence has to do with a whole lot of things. There was this workshop I attended in January. Then the speaker make mention of something that really stood out for me. She said there are many writers, but what we differentiate her from being an ordinary writer is different skills she has acquired over time. She's a lawyer. She has idea on community management. She has idea on Web3, and I think she has ideas. She has idea on graphic design, and many other skills also. I was like, wow. So if she combined all these things together, she'll be able to really stand out. She'll be able to really stand out with somebody that is just a lawyer and doesn't have all these things in combination. So you have to broaden our sense of excellence. There was this story. Now I'll be giving us practical example because I really want us to know that all these things are practical. There was this story of somebody ahead. This person was into all this engineering stuff. So he really devoted himself to learning even beyond what is not in his scope of learning. Then something happened. There's a faulty machine in their company, and he, as though that's not his area, but he has idea about it because he has really studied so broad on that area. But he knew that this company, they will not pay him if he just offer it for them like that. You know that car, no, this. So he used wisdom in that aspect. He told one of his friends that was into that area, but he cannot solve that problem. Then he said he will present himself like the person that is in charge of offering them the solution to the problem they're having with the machine. Then they planned that way. That's why he was able to get paid with that. And there's this illustration too. There's this story of somebody I heard. He was into sound. Then his mentor said, all this sound, all this musical sound. His mentor, then he noticed some gaps in his service delivery. Maybe especially we Christians, we think that this thing is normal. Maybe it's a mic, the way the mic used to disturb. That thing is not really normal. It's lack of excellence. So he noticed all these gaps in his service delivery. Then his method challenged him. He said, go and watch 50 YouTube videos. 50 YouTube videos on that area of your service and your skill. I think the guy said watch more than 50 videos. Maybe he watched like 100 or 500 videos. By the time the guy will offer that service like this, it was top notch. It was excellence. So it's because he understand. That's why it's good to have people that really challenge you, and don't see that they are saying too much or they are doing too much. If they challenge you, that you have to be doing this, you have to be doing this. I think I have more than 20 videos on all these short videos on self leadership, but I don't really focus on it to come and give this teaching. I just develop my own note on myself, by myself rather. So because I understand that I cannot attain this kind of excellence. Imagine I have global leaders. I'm speaking to them right now. Is this how I'll be delivering? I know I've seen where I'm going already. Because of this, it's really challenging me to learn more. And even if I've been to the place I'm going to, I still have to keep learning more. This is one thing we have to understand about self-leadership. So I'll give another quick example. So after every school visit, there's this particular facilitator, a leadership outreach facilitator, sit down and ask, what landed, what didn't? That's what's really make the difference in this regard. What is the thing that we did well? What is the thing that we did that we need to improve on? So what needs changes and what need improvement? So he doesn't wait for feedback to form. He evaluates himself. So every visit is sharp and well presented in this. I think this is even speaking to me, because I didn't really have time to go through all this illustration. So he was able to present a very good outreach after he has been able to reflect on some of these things that what's the thing that stand out, what's the thing that didn't stand out. So, and over time, students don't just listen to him, they remembered everything that has been said. I'll be very vulnerable now. The first outreach I went to, actually the last outreach I went to is the third outreach. The first one I went to, I saw the student paying attention because I just shared my personal story and all that. So the second outreach I went to, the student listened, the way they paid attention. But I noticed that their teacher have to supervise them and tell them, you must not make noise, you must not do this, you must not do that. So it really make them to pay attention, even if they don't want to pay attention. So this last outreach I went to, after the student, because the Christian community, after the student they are done with their morning devotion, I went there very early. I think that's the third time I went to that school. The first time I was late. I went there around 8 something. The second time I was late and there was other program like that. So the third time I made sure that I went very early. So the students were complaining already that they are exhausted, they just finished morning devotion, they cannot start another this thing. So as I started, I commented on some of the things that they are doing and they ought to correct. So as I started, I noticed that there's a whole lot of noise around, and there's nobody that was really supervising them. Then I realized that the first outreach was really successful because there's a group of people that was telling the students, keep quiet, don't do this, don't do that. And there's this second outreach too. There's a strict system in that school where the teachers have a say on those students. But this last one really shook me. Though yes, some of them paid attention, but I would have loved if every one of them paid attention, because they don't know that this thing, I told them that this thing, I don't need this, you are the one that need it. So you have to really pay very good attention. But because of being they are exhausted and all that, it really make them not to give a very good attention to me. And that's a lesson for me. Now my own self-renewal and my own way I will develop myself is understanding classroom management. Yes, I get to learn that from a class I attend. That there's a way you manage classroom that will make everybody to pay attention to you. That's just a digression. So the other pillar, and this is the one I love so much, self-system and structure. Self-system and structure. But that's good, understanding classroom management. So self-system and structure. So a leader without a system and structure is a talented person living at the mercy of circumstances. So without setting the system and structure, now these are how things will go, these are how things will go. You just believe that things will go this way because you're a good person. It will shock you. But this one thing you should understand, that system ensure that something, what you want to happen regardless. So I think it's the post I made. That self-awareness tell you who you are, as we have discussed, make you to understand yourself and be more conscious of yourself. So self-discipline tell you what to do, but it is a good self-system and structure that tell you how to do it consistently, even when you don't feel motivated, or when life gets busy, or when things get stressful, or when you are even under pressure. So if you understand self-system and structure, you'll be able to do what you ought to do consistently. And this, I think, is the work part for many persons. I get to realize sometimes that I think that bit I've broken it now. I'll see that I begin a book, but by the end, maybe I'll just read. The book is 200 pages. I'll just read it to 50. I will stop. I'll stop at the halfway. It's because I've not really set structure on how to go about it. Because sometimes I'll think that maybe this is the most important thing. I'll not have time to read this book again, and it's a lie, because I don't really set structure. Even that thing I'm doing is good, but it will have been more better if I can consistently do that thing, regardless of other activities that come in. So I get a strategy recently that no matter what, you will surely have time for your personal development. No matter how busy you are, surely have time for your personal development. And I get to realize that the foundation of any other thing that you will do in any day is start from your morning. The foundation of everything starts from when you wake up. So you have to be very deliberate to how you use your money. There was this discipline that they gave us while I was a leader back in school. That's no prayer, no Bible study, no internet. That means if you have not prayed, if you have not studied your Bible, you should not go to the internet. but many of us didn't do it. I myself, I know that. I think sometimes I did it, but I did not continue in it. And the problem is not having a self structure and system. So a system, take note of this now. A system is a deliberate arrangement of your time, your energy, your habits, your resources, and your environment that make your leadership behavior predictable. You can believe that no, I will do this thing today. No, one of the structure I set for myself, I noticed that if I turn on, because I used to set my phone on do not disturb, even though I turn on my data, if any message from WhatsApp, from Facebook, or from anything, I will not see the message because I've put my phone on do not disturb. And I understand that if I do not do like that, have you seen a situation? Let me just quickly check, especially those that make content. Let me just quickly post this content and I will leave. But before you know, you said that I'll use only 3 minutes on Facebook or on WhatsApp. But before you know, another thing has entered. You see something that is very interesting that you have you involve yourself in, and you are not to be blamed. It happens, but it can stop happening. You have to be disciplined about your time and how you go about it. Because, and I understand this about myself. That's why sometimes I freeze my WhatsApp, I freeze my Facebook, I freeze all my social media handles, because I know that it distracts me from doing what I ought to be doing. And I choose to prioritize what matters most. So please take note of this. A system is a deliberate, I'm coming again for it to really stick. A system is a deliberate arrangement of your time, of your energy, of your habits, of your resources and environment that make your leadership behavior predictable and sustainable without depending on your feeling in a given day, whether you feel like it. Like I've said earlier, that a good system and structure tell you how to consistently do a thing, even when you don't feel like it, even when you are stressful, even when life gets busier. Okay, I was sharing how to maximize your day before. So, for instance, now you have exam, and you have to prepare for the exam, and you have to read a book, you have to pray, you have to meditate, and those are some of the morning routines that enhances your personal development. Before, you used to use 20 minutes each to do all those things. Now it's time for your exam. You have to pay more attention to your reading now. What do you want to be doing? Break it down. And I think these are the things that I even did when I noticed that I set a whole lot of goals. I'll do this, I'll do that. I realized that no, I'll just break down if I'm not careful. So I broke many things down, and sometimes these are what I used to do. Honestly, when I see that this group have been there and it's not really thing of priority for me, I'll leave that group. That's why you notice that I did not make people to join the community directly. I give them an option. So because I understand that some people just join any group. Please let us correct this. Don't just join the group, because they'll be every group have their commitments, and they'll be believing that since you have joined, you should be able to follow all the activities of and all that. So when you know that you will not be committed to it, it's better not to join the team, or it's better not to involve yourself in it at all. So you don't understand this thing if you not really set your system and structure. So as I was saying, even you know that I have to read today, I have to pray today, I have to read my Bible today, I have to meditate today and all that. Break it down to 5 minutes or 3 minutes. If possible, maybe you know I don't really have time to pray, but you must do it consistently. Pray for 5 minutes. After that, study your Bible for 5 minutes. But you must make sure you wake up very early. And I just realized that sometimes you might not be able to wake up very early if you did not sleep very early. Please take note of that. Take note of that. You not wake up very energetic if you did not sleep very early. So take 5 minutes. I'll pray for 5 minutes. I'll study my Bible for 5 minutes. I will meditate for 5 minutes. I'll visualize for 5 minutes. I'll do my positive affirmation for 5 minutes. And I want to celebrate Miss Blessing for that. Some of the positive affirmation. There's a group I was in. I'm seeing that she used to post this powerful affirmation. So this is a very good example. You must have set, if possible, go and download positive affirmations, scriptural affirmations that you use to enhance your productivity in that day. So as affirm, make sure you remind yourself, especially all the promises of God about your life. This thing that God has said you will do. There's one thing that I give those my leaders. I just call the vision. I just, because the way I get my ideas, I just see the imagination. I just see different country flags. I was in church. I saw this decoration. This decoration was just moving. The hair was blowing it. Then I just dawned on me that I have to get a flag, different countries flag, and put it in my room to be seeing it and be reminding myself. And I went to price it. I think I went to price it on Tuesday. So by the end of this month or next month, I will get it in my room. I want to be seeing those flags so that to remind me that yes, I'm going to the nation. This global impact vision will truly come to pass. So those are the practical steps that we ought to take. And you might not be able to realize this if you don't really pay attention to your morning routines. And these are the things that you will do to really renew and re-energize yourself. So our time is really fast spent, but I would love to cover the other parts. So we are still on system and structure, self-system and structure, and I've explained what a system is to us. So note this: many leaders fail not because they lack vision or character, but because they have no design for how they operate. So they are just reactive to anything that comes. They just flow with it. So, and their day is being shaped by that. So please, you must set structure, and please respect your structure. If I said I'm not doing this, nobody can come with an activity. If I've set my day that this is how I use my day, this is how I use my time, this is how I use my time. Nobody can just bring maybe a very urgent work now and say, please help me to work on this. I won't really pay attention to it, or I should explain, please, I have what I will use my time to do already. I cannot work on this, I cannot work on this. So that's a way of respecting your own time that you have set for yourself. So please take note of this. If you don't want your day to be scattered, if you don't want your leadership to be scattered, you must understand self-structure. Structure your day, structure your time, structure yourself. So rather than being moved by anything that just comes, you have to be very strategic. So system and structure is what enable your self-leadership. It's this piece. I also love to talk to us more about this even after this summit. But I'm just trusting God for more time to really have time to for broader conversation than this, because this time is not really enough. So I'll be stopping by 9:45. So just give me like 8 to 7 minutes of your time. I will rush through it. So practically, what self-structure look like? It shows you how to use your day. Yeah, it shows you how to plan and protect your time. It shows you how to organize your responsibilities. It shows you your energy across the day. That if I involve in this thing, I will not have energy to do this thing again. So it's make sure you create routine that carry your value. If you truly value time management, you will set time. You create routine that make sure your time is not being broken. So, and also self-structure reviews your progress and your process, and you reevaluate regularly. Please, you should take note of this as a leader in business. It is work very well. If you practice this thing, you will notice that yes, I'm improving. Sit down every day, because it's a discipline on its own. Review, what did I do well today? What did I do not, or what is that thing that I did not do well today? Like for instance, I have a responsibility to review everything that happens in the summit. What is that thing? What make people to join? What make people not to join? What make people to be this? So all this questioning must happen if I want to enhance myself, and I must set the structure that immediately after I end this summit, that's what I will do. I'll go and do my own personal review. What's the area I failed and the area I succeed. So we have to review, set a structure that I'll be doing this review regularly. Remember, self-structure, you must ensure you do that thing repeatedly and consistently, whether you feel motivated, whether you are stressed or not. So the other pillar, and I think this is the last pillar. But let me see if I can get a very good example for us of this self-structure. Yes, I would love to give us an example. So a school administrator, she noticed that her week feels chaotic. So she's always responding and never leading. So she's always reacting because of the chaotic nature of activities in the week. So when she realized this, she introduced a simple Sunday evening ritual. She reviews the weekend ahead. She identified her 3 most important priorities and block time for each one before anything else fill her calendar. So within a month, she stopped feeling overwhelmed, not because her workload reduces, but because she now enters every week with a structure she designed rather than the one that circumstances impose on her. So a leader who plans her week lead it. So if you want to lead your week, you have to plan your week. Please, you can type that. A leader who plans her week lead it. So a leader who does not just survive it. So this is another practical example. A final year student is the head of his school student council. At the same time, he was preparing for exams. At the same time, he was mentoring young students simultaneously. So all these things will make him to crumble. But he was not moved by this thing. Because of what? Every morning, without anybody having to tell him, he followed a 45-minute structure like I've shared with us earlier. He read for 15 minutes, and the other 15 minutes he pray and reflect, and the other 15 minutes he review his tasks for the day. And nobody tell him to do this, but he has built it because he realized that without a money structure, the day will own him. So he will just flow with anything that the day bring. But because he has set this structure, he own his day. So your morning will refill. The way you start your morning will refill how you will end it sometimes. Maybe until you have chance to call, but which is not possibly to happen. Let me give us another practical example. So a pastor who delivers powerful sermons is asked, how do you always come so prepared? And his answer is not just spiritual gifts or the anointing on him. He now showed them the system he follow. He said every Monday he identified his team, every Tuesday he researched more on it, and every Wednesday he outlined his teaching, every Thursday he write them down, every Friday he reviews it, and every Saturday he rests from the message entirely, and so it come to hit fresh on Sunday. So anything that is working for anybody, if you check very well, that person has a system. You see that this person was doing this. I saw Pastor Femi Lazarus post one day. He said you see him do his podcast, preach, go to this, go to that. No, one of the system he says is that he has people working for him, and that's one of the system that we have to learn as we are growing in leadership. I get a funny understanding of this passage. Because most of the way I understand leadership is from the scripture. So there's a place in the Bible that said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So as a leader, if you say that I can do all things, like you are the one that will do this, the management, the call, this, that, you just break down. But what will make you to really maximize your energy by helping people to, yes, delegation, that's right, delegating responsibilities to people. And that's one thing I learned, and that's one thing that always comes to my consciousness, that everything I'm doing, indirectly I'm developing other people to be responsible and to express themselves. So you must learn this structure as a leader. And yes, as I was planning for this summit, just don't know me that so this is the thing I really did though. But I was not really conscious, but just don't know me that I have to give responsibility to this set of people, this and that. And trust me, the next summit we'll be having will be more powerful than this, because we have more time to plan, prepare, and we'll have built a whole lot of leaders alongside. So if you are listening to me as a leader, that I'm talking to my personal circle now. After this summit, the 3 days, we have our own personal retreat whereby we digest all those teachings so that we can really master it. The whole aim of this thing is practice. It's not just listening. It used to bother me that I've gone to many conferences in this life, and many Christians too, but you are not seeing the results. Imagine you as a farmer, you plant a seed, you are expecting a fruit and you can't see it. So we have to be deliberate. If you want to see, you cannot be doing you cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. So you cannot be learning the same way and expect different results. So please let us have this approach of learning also. You should go back to everything that we are being taught again, so that we can really master it and we can really become good at it. And also, I would like to challenge us, please, if you have opportunity, and please cultivate that aspect. Set the structure of teaching. Yes, it's a structure. Teaching other people what you have learned. This will even make you to understand more and will make you to recall everything you have learned again and again. So I will give this other example about structure. There's this one example I saw of some guys I'm really looking for now. Okay. I couldn't find it. Okay, let me see. So every Friday at 4 p.m. a team lead block 30 minutes for personal review. So all these things is just about time management. So he asked himself, what did I commit to do this week? And did I deliver? Where did I lose time or focus? What need to carry forward into next week? Am I still aligned with my large goals? So this weekly review is not just a thing that he's just doing for doing sake. He's doing it intentionally. And that's one thing with self-leadership. You might be doing everything to develop yourself. Nobody will see it though. But if they see you outshining others, they'll be envying you, and they'll be saying that when did he arrive? Who did he think he is? Not knowing that the kind of work you are doing on the ground. And let me tell you, if you find self-leadership very easy, to lead others won't be very hard to you, because you'll be able to challenge others. If I can do this thing, why can't you do it? So that's one thing we should learn about self-leadership. So the last one, which we'll be ending with tonight. And thank you so much for your time. This shows that you are a person of value, and thank you so much for making out time, even as it exceeds the time that you have planned to use. Thank you so much for bidding and giving yourself to learning. And this is one aspect of self-leadership too. I did not tell you that you have to stay to this time for you to be able to learn, but you practice self-renewal, self-investment. Here you are investing in yourself. And I promise myself I will go back to all those things, I myself, after I finish with this section. So I already have the spirit of leadership teaching, the main teaching. I already have it prepared. But before I now realize that if I don't talk about these things, many people will not really have much understanding on leadership. So this is it. The last one I would like to say is self-reflection and time audit. Self-reflection and time audit. So this, please mute your mic. Okay. So this is the heartbeat of self-leadership: self-reflection and time audit. So note that we cannot improve what you don't understand. You cannot improve what you don't examine. You cannot improve what you don't study. Like I've said earlier, if you want to have different results, you must do something differently. So most people are very busy, but few people are productive. There was a quote I wrote some time that if you want to improve your productivity, you have to question your activity, and these two have to do with time. Question: if I have opportunity to use yesterday, today, last month, last week again, what will I have done differently? What will I have improved on? So if you want to improve your productivity, you have to question your activity, and that's one thing we have to take note of. Many people are productive, are very busy, but few people are productive. So the difference is not that it's not lack of time, it's not lack of energy, it's not even lack of talent. It's because they don't reflect on their progress and their processes. So in regards to this, self-reflection is a discipline. So what is self-reflection? Self-reflection is the discipline of sitting with yourself honestly. Let me tell you, all this thing I've explained to us is not, humanly speaking, it's not always easy, but it pays. There's this understanding I have that self-discipline is not always easy, but it pays at the end. So every of these keys doesn't come easy, because it's not every time that you feel like doing it, but you must do it because you know that without it, you stop growing, and if you stop growing, you stop leading effectively, and if you stop leading effectively, you stop becoming relevant. So self-reflection is the discipline of sitting with yourself honestly, not to condemn yourself, but to learn from yourself. It is the practice of looking back so we can move forward with greater precision. Now, this is the thing that make me to maximize my day today. It was this conference I attended. Let me tell you, the outreach that I was going for, what really drive me. Yes, I have all these things planned out that when I went for service, I'll be going for outreach. But what really triggers me to do that really make me to act on it promptly, is how I joined a workshop in January, and we are giving a commitment to start acting on that thing that we said that we want to do practically and start immediately. So that's what really prompted me. I have it for service that I will start doing it. Imagine some of the students I've reached out to now that will have missed out of the thing that will have benefited their life. So start now. Every other thing, even this summit that I hold now, as the idea came, I think around early this month. Is it this month or last month? I was thinking, I still have my own personal development goals that I want to meet, because I have a target. There's a book I want to read. There's a way I want to develop myself so much that even if the world president call me today, I'll be able to say something. Let my 5 minutes worth like 10 hours with them. So it doesn't just come like that. I must work out the thing that really make me to be able to stand to that global standard. So having understand this thing, I want to commit myself to growth, but I get to realize that I cannot. I might think that I'm trying to commit myself to growth, but I will not be able to reach out to other persons if I'm not really acting on the thing I said I want to do on time. So because of the cycle of people I join, it really makes me to be committed to everything I said I want to do. I don't plan to spend this much, but I believe we have really learned a lot tonight. So I'll be ending on this note. All of these things, when we understand it, the spirit of leadership, we truly rest on this. The spirit of leadership is not the Holy Spirit, is the character that drives leaders to do what they want to, they ought to do, and make them to be different from every other person. We want to challenge us to please go back to everything you have been taught again.